friends, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be making 3 vegan packed lunches. These are going to be interesting, creative. It's going to be versatile in the sense that you can switch around the vegetables and the flavor combinations. And we're not going to be doing any sandwiches or wraps. We're going to be thinking a little bit more outside the box. So these are all going to be things that you don't need to heat up. They'll be perfect kept in a lunchbox with a cooler or at room temperature, and I think they should be fun. Let's get started making some great packed lunches together. So I've got this nori, and the first thing I think I'm gonna make is like a sushi burrito. I know I said no wraps, but I don't think this is technically a wrap. So we're gonna need rice, and usually I'd make my own rice, but I found this at the store and I thought it might be an easy way to save some time. It's pre-cooked sticky rice, and I believe you just pop it in the microwave. So we're gonna do that. And we're also gonna roast some tofu for this. So that's the thing that's gonna take the longest. Let's get that started. Now, of course, you're not gonna need a whole block of tofu for this, but I know if I make it, we'll eat it. So I'm just gonna make the whole block up while I have the oven on. And I'm going with pieces like that. There's my lovely and well-used baking sheet. And if your baking sheets don't look like this, congratulations, you're better at not putting acidic foods on them than I am. Or maybe you buy more expensive baking sheets than I do, I don't know. We've got a sheet full of tofu. I'm gonna drizzle with a neutral flavored oil. You could also use the sesame oil if you've got one. We're gonna add some soy sauce. This is where most of our flavor is coming from. Nothing like some good soy sauce on tofu. And then pop on any other flavorings you might want. I'm gonna use some Justice seasoning, which aside from having a great name is mostly shallots and garlic. It's almost like a slightly more interesting garlic powder. And that's all I'm gonna do. We're gonna pop it in the oven and roast for a while. I usually do my tofu pretty hot, around 450. And I'm gonna check on it in like 20 minutes and flip. And maybe it'll be done in 40 minutes, maybe it will need longer. Just microwaved this sticky rice, and I'm just gonna season it for my sushi. So I'm gonna add maybe like a tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, a sprinkle of salt, and my camera died, but I think I just added salt. And now I'm gonna add a little sprinkle of sugar. I'm just gonna transfer it into a bigger bowl so there's room to mix it. It's good, but I want a little bit more vinegar. I like sushi rice best when it uses probably an inappropriate amount of rice wine vinegar, but that tang I think is really lovely. We've got this, let's set it aside and get the other ingredients ready. I hope you enjoy my bright green cutting board. We're gonna do some bell pepper, or as the British people say, capsicum, and we're just gonna cut it into slices. Next, a few carrots. Next, we've got this cucumber. It's kind of weird looking, but I grew it myself, so no hate. We've got a scallion. That'll do. And let's not forget that roasted tofu. The last thing I want to make for this is a seasoned mayo. So I'm going to chop up a couple cloves of garlic and a couple of our homegrown chili peppers. I'm also going to add a little bit of freeze-dried ginger, but you can also just use fresh ginger. We're gonna fold it all into some plant-based mayo. This is the Hellmann's brand. Let's add these chopped scallion greens too. I forgot I had those. All right, and then we're just gonna let this sit, not for very long, just a couple minutes, so that the flavors can meld together and our mayo is appropriately spicy and garlicky. So if you were wondering, the difference between sushi and a sushi burrito is a lack of authenticity and size. A sushi burrito is bigger. And how we achieve that is we take one piece of nori and essentially glue it to a second piece of nori. Not using anything fancy, just a little bit of water. So I've got my nori. I'm just gonna use a little bit of water on my fingertips and spread it around the bottom inch or so of this one sheet. Then I'm gonna take this other sheet and press it in to the bit I've covered with water. Next, the rice. We're gonna put the rice on the first sheet of nori, making sure we include this bit too that we've covered up, because having this covered with rice will help to reinforce that seal. And fingers really are the best tool for this job. If you wet them a little bit, they won't stick as much. You want to more or less cover this. You can leave a small margin right here, but other than that, you want a thin, even layer of rice. Teaspoon. Okay. Next, let's add our seasoned mayo, a nice good strip of it, and some of our vegetables. Whatever you like, of course. I'm gonna start with some tofu, maybe a double layer. Cucumber, some scallions on the other side, bell pepper, and carrot. Okay, and maybe a little more tofu. We're gonna take this piece and roll it, and the goal is to kind of hit right where the rice ends. And then we're just gonna get a little bit of water and wet this second piece. And wet. My friends, that is a sushi burrito. I know I didn't say this at the beginning of the video, but I've never done that before. I'm impressed. Let's get started with our next recipe. Now this is something that I make most frequently to take to the airport with me. They taste good at room temperature, they taste good warm. It's sort of gonna be like a make ahead situation, like a meal prep situation. And we are going to be making pizza rolls, yay! So this is some pizza crust that I pre-made a couple days ago actually. I'm just gonna punch it down. But you can also get store-bought. Most of the time I do actually do this. I'll get it from Trader Joe's just because, while it is cheaper to make your own pizza dough, it's also kind of more of a pain. So I'm just going to lightly flour this surface we're using. And then we're gonna roll our dough out into a big rectangle. And I'm just going to, before I put anything else on it, make sure that I can still lift it up at all points, because otherwise you'll be dealing with sticking pizza dough covered in sauce, and that is just no fun. The first thing I'm gonna do is grab some jarred tomato sauce. We're just gonna cover all of this with a thin and even layer of sauce, leaving a little border around all the edges just to make it a bit tidier. You can use pesto here, you can use a vegan Alfredo, you can use a barbecue sauce, you can use anything that you would like on pizza. Now we're gonna go in with a generous layer of a vegan cheese. I'm using Violife today. You can use whatever you like, or you could do a homemade cashew cheese. Because you're an adult, you can do what you want. Unless you're not an adult and you're a child, in which case, I don't know the rules in your house. So talk to your parent. I like to save just a little bit of cheese to put on top as well. So I'm gonna stop there. It gives me, I don't know, like half a cup left over. And this is where you just get to have fun and pick whatever toppings you like. I'm going to do onion, red bell pepper, some zucchini, because I have so much zucchini still. This lovely peach chili pepper that is not ripe, but still perfectly delicious. And Kalamata olives. And I think the trick to getting this to work well is to chop everything pretty small. So I'm gonna get chopping. Onion. That was about 1/4 of an onion. That peach chili pepper. Red bell pepper. I just did 1/4 of a red bell pepper. Zucchini. Compared to the other things, we are using a lot of zucchini. But you know what? I'm not gonna say I have too much zucchini. I'm just gonna put it in everything and smile psychotically. And we've got these Kalamata olives. I'm gonna add some Sunny Paris seasoning blend. It is one of my favorites. And then we're gonna roll. I'm gonna roll this way, which will give you more layers, but less length. It's gonna be a little bit messy at first, but after the first couple rolls, yeah, see, we're actually rolling now. And just go slowly. Very end, I am just gonna bring this around, mostly so it stays in the camera shot for you. And there we have our pizza roll. I'm gonna try and fit it all into this piece of Corningware. We'll see if that works. Start with oiling it, otherwise there's just no way this is coming out. Okay, so we've got them sort of mapped out. I'm using a serrated knife. The other option is you can do like floss or twine and cutting it, and then we're just gonna plop it, whoop, right into our prepared baking dish. And we're gonna cook these like you cook cinnamon rolls. So they'll be touching and they'll sort of bake into each other. If you don't like that, you can always cook these more like in a muffin tin so that they have their own space and they don't touch. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I usually use a slightly bigger pan or make slightly less dough, but this is looking a little more full than it usually does. I guess we'll see, huh? I'm gonna top with the rest of the vegan cheese. Add another little drizzle of oil, and we'll see what that looks like in about 20 minutes. The last thing we're gonna make is a bright and summery pasta salad that makes us forget it's fall. So we've got our baking tray. It just had tofu on it. It's not clean, and it doesn't matter because we're gonna put more things on it. I'm gonna start by roasting 1.5 zucchini. So let's cut these into bite-sized pieces. We're also gonna add some corn because nothing says summer like corn. But we're also gonna be honest and tell you we don't actually have any fresh corn, so we're using some frozen corn. And since we have 1/4 of a bell pepper left from the other recipes, we'll chop that in as well. Add some oil, salt, and pepper. Toss it around. I've got my oven set to 400, and I'm not gonna go for like super roasted on this one, just like a little bit of charring around the edges will probably be perfect. We have to make a dressing for our pasta salad, and here's where I'm gonna get a little bit weird on you. Zucchini? I mean, I kind of feel like why not? With some zucchini and some oil, maybe it'll be pretty creamy. We're also gonna add 2 cloves of garlic and the juice of a lemon. Maybe 2 lemons, but you know, we taste first. And some salt, of course, and some dill. All right, now let's give that a blend and see what on earth we're dealing with. It looks good, it tastes good. I think it could use more lemon. I've made pasta sauce with zucchini before, but I've always made it on like a hot dish. So that's why this is feeling a little bit different to me, is it's gonna be on a cold pasta salad, but I think it will be quite delicious, really. I feel like with the corn and the bell pepper, oregano will be good. Some dried oregano from my garden. Stems and all, that's okay, it's a good blender. It'll blend the stems, I hope. Let's go give that a shot. That is super creamy, super zesty. And I used another zucchini. Make our pasta. I'm gonna make this ditalini, and I'm just gonna cook it like I normally would, but at the end I am going to shock it to stop the cooking process, and so that when we put the sauce on, it doesn't absorb it, it gets coated by it. The last thing we're gonna do for our pasta salad is chop a few vegetables. I really like raw onions more than cooked onions in my pasta salad. I'm just gonna do this 1/4 onion because that's what I have. Although honestly, half an onion would be better. And then what's really gonna make this taste summery is our tomato. Using this gorgeous Caspian pink tomato, and I'm just gonna cut it into pieces. And now it's time for assembly. We've got a large bowl. We've got our cooked pasta that has been shocked, tomatoes and onions, roasted zucchini and corn, and our green lemony zucchini vinaigrette, or whatever you'd call this. Mix it all together. I will say the green color is a little bit unusual. I think if you used a yellow summer squash instead of a green one, you might have a less weird colored pasta salad, but it doesn't matter. This one's ready to go. Here with our 3 beautiful packed lunch ideas. I did think about putting them like in packaging, like in a little Ziploc-ies or whatever for this part of the video, but I was lazy, so I didn't. So we're just gonna try them as is. I love that all of these can use whatever vegetables you have around the house, and will be delicious and are great opportunities to be creative with your lunch. First, let's try our sushi burrito. This is heavy. Like, this seems like it will be filling. Cheers. It tastes like sushi, but it eats like a burrito. We also have some of this leftover mayo. I was a little concerned that this might be a little bit messy to eat, but honestly, it bites really cleanly. The nori is doing a really good job of holding on to the food and then also breaking evenly when I bite. At this point, this one's been made for like a couple hours now too, and it's holding up really well to time. So I think it's a great lunch option. Also, that instant rice worked really well. It's definitely not the most economical way to buy your rice, but if you just want a single portion like I did, it was perfect. It was just like the perfect amount. Pasta salad next. The dressing is bright and garlicky. The soft zucchini, the sweetness of the corn, the brightness of the tomato. It could use a little bit more onion, but other than that, delicious pasta salad. I believe that any salad can be made a pasta salad, and most of them will be better for it. Finally, our pizza rolls. These took longer than they should have. I think they were in there for about 45 minutes at the end, but I suspect that having too many in this space did not help it. I think they were overcrowded, and I think that the zucchini added moisture that made it harder for them to bake. So, tips: use a bigger pan, and maybe don't use super moist vegetables. The crust is chewy, it's flavorful, it's just exploding with toppings and cheese. If you're bringing this somewhere where you can eat a little bit messier, I would recommend adding a little bit of marinara to a cup and bringing that with you so you can dip, because it does, dry out as it bakes, as you would want it to. But if you are not, I wouldn't be too bothered about it. The cheese is adding a lot of moisture to it. And it's just really like a nice, neater, compacter way to essentially pack pizza with you, because you don't have to worry about the cheese rubbing off and any of that. It's all nice and contained. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you feel inspired to pack a lunch and bring it with you, be it to school, work, or on a lovely fall picnic. Hopefully the last one, that's the most fun. Let us know in the comments what some of your favorite things to pack for lunch are, or maybe what some of your pet peeves about packed lunches are. Mine would definitely be when wraps get too soggy. If you liked this video and wouldn't mind giving us a thumbs up, we'd be so appreciative. I think you can also hype videos now too. So if you can figure out that, I'm sure that would be great. Additionally, we'd love to see you next time. So if you subscribe and turn on notifications, you'll be the first to know when we post. See you later. Bye.